This podcast was sponsored by A. Miller George Funeral Home, where each life is celebrated, and their sister company, Cremation London and Middlesex, both family-owned and operated.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another edition of the Vickers Crossing podcast. The Vickers Crossing is a virtual space where faith intersects with the public square. And we are back at it again. My name is Rob Andersen, and I am the priest at Holy Trinity St. Stephen's Anglican Church in London, and I'm here again with Kevin.
Good afternoon, Robbie. Good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Good to be with you.
Good to see you.
My name is Kevin George. I am the rector here at St. Aidan's Anglican Church in the northwest part of the city. And both of us are privileged to be here with the very handsome, resplendent, and uber-talented producer, Ian.
I believe you called me frosted-tipped earlier.
I did, yeah, but I was trying to improve the discourse in this place.
Of course.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. I mean, I'm always here, so.
good.
We're glad you are, and we're glad that our listeners are joining us once again. If you're first time listening to the Vickers podcast, we're really happy you're here, and we hope you stay for a while.
Yeah.
And chat about a few things today with our special guest, Kate Andersen. Hi, Kate. How are you?
Good.
Good. It's good to see you. Good to see you. This is Kate's first podcast, I think.
It is. I
That's
think
right.
it's your first
It's your
podcast.
very first
Yep.
ever podcast. Good.
But it's not your first time like being broadcast to the world because you were on CBC Radio, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And how was that?
Good.
That
was good.
You
Good.
enjoyed
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Kate.
Wow.
Kate. Not Kate. What's the matter? I'm forgetting her name. The host down there.
Rebecca
Zambergen, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Kate Dubinsky there for a second, but she must have been amazing to talk to.
She was, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Figured
Cool.
she would have been.
Well, I'm thrilled that you started your career on CBC and started at the top.
Yes,
and,
now
and
you're
decided to
sliding
come
down.
decided to come and sit with us here, us poor folk here at the podcast. So good
Yeah.
for you, good for you. Our Vickers Crossing podcast is always brought to you by Dave and the staff at A. Miller George Funeral Home, our good friends there, where each life is celebrated, and their sister company, Cremation London and Middlesex, both family owned and operated. And we give them thanks for helping to sponsor our podcast and keep us going here every week. Let's just check in a little bit. Do you want to? We'll
Yeah.
save up our introduction for Kate on a bigger level in just a
Yeah,
few
let's
minutes
see
and
what's
give
going
you a
on.
good introduction. So let's check in with everybody here and see how we're doing. Did anybody watch the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
I caught most of it.
I watched it, but I didn't understand it.
You didn't understand it.
Well, you know what I understood about it is that
What's that?
it's a dog and pony show.
Yeah.
That we're all supposed to be at some party or do something and buy into this large corporate marketed thing. And it's all crazy. And then I started reading up on the history of halftime shows. I found out that Carol Channing was on there once, and I wondered
Carol
if
Channing?
Yeah, I wondered if she danced like Shakira.
Carol Channing?
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
And so, but it
it's
used
evolved
to,
then
but it
over the
used to
years.
be the halftime shows were marching bands from colleges. But then it got so corporate and so marketed that they started getting into all this
sure.
other stuff.
Oh, sure.
So I just found it. I don't know. It's the one football game now I watch, and the other part of it is they've killed football with all these replays. So like there was a San Fran made a great catch ahead of the second half, and they called it back.
And they called it back,
And I'm
yeah.
like, I can't be bothered with this. But
Well, being a Detroit Lions fan, there's
Yeah.
only one reason I ever watch the Super Bowl. I'm in it for the chips.
that's the chips,
The
and
chips,
the beer.
the dip. We always get some pizza.
Yeah,
Just food that you don't always eat in a bulk.
that's true.
At the Super Bowl, you just sit and eat and kind of enjoy it. And
Yeah.
pick your feet up.
That's true. Shout out to
So I like
Tony's
that.
because I had a Panzerotti from Tony's.
Oh,
for
did
the
you?
Super Bowl,
Oh, I
yeah.
love Tony's. Yeah,
Tony's Panzerottis are the best.
That was good.
I watched a video deconstructing the arrangement of the Star Spangled Banner. So
by Demi
that's
Lovato?
that's the most interesting thing I can contribute to
Okay.
the Super Bowl.
Did the halftime show?
Yeah.
There's a lot. Like people either loved the halftime show,
Yeah,
thought it was the most amazing thing they'd ever seen,
yeah,
or people kind of went, "That was ridiculous."
yeah.
And
I miss the rock and roll bands. but that's
yeah,
just
see,
me.
I'm like you. I like to watch the musicians, but I mean, I like the dancing, but it was just
But
it was a dancing.
Don't you
show.
think the thing is piped in?
I didn't know if they were really singing or not, but
Yeah. That's what I
Yeah,
wonder.
I don't know. Yeah, but
anyway.
it's all subjective, right?
Yeah.
Entertainment.
Yeah. It was all good. Did you watch Super Bowl, Kate?
Did you watch
No.
it? No.
No, good for you, Kate. Because that halftime show was a bit much. That's all I'm saying.
And Kansas City Chiefs.
You saw
from
it.
From the,
We have
yeah.
Kate's sister Mimi off camera here,
Yeah.
and her two eyes just went the size of saucers and nodded and said it was quite something. So,
Well, if you did miss it, the Kansas City Chiefs from the state of Kansas.
The state of
apparently,
Kansas, yeah.
won the game.
according to the orange orangutan himself.
So there you go. So what else is going on? What's going on here at St. Aidan?
Oh, we're still getting ready for Vestry. Our Vestry meeting, our annual meeting, is this weekend, so we're just about there. Sunday was just again another full celebration. Lots of neat stuff happening, and we actually started a book group last night. Joan Chittister's book, "The Time Is Now," Call to Uncommon Courage, where she's really calling people to sort of stand up to all this sort of xenophobia and populism that's out there right now, calling for us to find a prophetic voice, and we've been hosting that at one of our former sponsors. The Crossings Pub and Eatery.
Oh, yeah.
So we've been using the upper room
Oh,
there.
you went
So
to the upper room?
Went to the upper
Upper
room.
room?
So we had
Yeah.
about 20 people there last night. Really good conversation, really provocative. So yeah, that was good. What do you got going on at your place?
I kind of feel like we're getting ready for Lent.
Yeah, I know. It's all right around the corner.
Yeah, we did the vestry thing, took care of that, and we've been doing some planning around that. And one of the things that's come out of you're involved in this too, Kevin, is a group that I have at my parish, leading a group called Education for Ministry, which is a study of a lot of different things in ministry and the church and stuff. But one of the things that's come out of that is from a book we read from Julia Gatta.
Oh, yeah.
And
Great book.
People were really getting into this idea about the symbolism of some of the things we do on Sunday in church.
Yeah.
Like, what's stuff mean, right?
Yeah.
So oftentimes we sit there, and especially if you're there all the time, people kind of go through the motions and do things, but there's a lot of things going on within a liturgy or service that have very deep meaning. So we're planning to do a study on that in Lent about some of the symbolisms in church and in liturgy and what they actually mean to people, and anything from, like water or a candle, or because it's much more than just the stuff that we use.
It's what's
There's deep
going on
meaning to
behind
it.
that.
Yeah, so we're going to try to put that together and offer that, and people have been really kind of into that and learning more about it. So that's been really
That's
nice.
good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. What have you been up to, Ian?
I don't know.
He wasn't having it today, he said.
No.
He said he woke up and he wasn't having it.
Yeah, I woke up and I was just like, I didn't want to go to class.
Yeah.
But I went to class anyway, and then talked to my teacher, and he was like, no, I just feel like no one's like ready for today. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, it's the blahs, man.
It's February.
you might
I
get
blame
those
the weather.
February blahs. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. I get them. I
Yeah.
get those, days. So
Kate, did you get up this morning feeling like you were going to have at it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
you had
Oh,
energy
yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you didn't have to go to school.
No, slept in, enjoyed the morning.
Well, there you go. See, I gotta follow that path.
Got up and had
That's
some
the way to do it,
croissants, a
yeah.
few berries, an omelet or two. Put in a fire, put your legs up. Was it that sort of a morning?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good,
Brilliant.
perfect.
So, Kate, one of the things we like to do in the Vickers podcast is have our listeners, people that tune into the show, send questions to this guy over here, Ian. Okay, so we're going to do a very special segment right now, and this segment is called Ask Ian Anything.
Oh my!
I got a very,
That sounds
I have a very
severe,
deep
doesn't it,
voice.
Yeah.
So we have a very important question today.
Okay.
Very serious, very profound question. Comes from one of our listeners named Peter.
Deep and methodical. Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah, and it's a very brief question.
Yep.
It's boxers or briefs.
There's a third option, but Ian don't want to go there.
I'm out there and I'm loving it.
I'm loving it, Jerry.
Am I allowed to plead the fifth?
Oh yeah, sure you can. Yeah,
Sure.
I don't think you have to answer that, but
No, I just wear jeans underneath my jeans.
okay, all right. So he's wearing full-legged pants underneath his
Okay,
pants.
Perfect.
Yeah, okay.
As long as you're not wearing jorts.
He's actually just for the listeners who are not on Facebook. He is red.
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
actually blushed at that question. I
Looks
can't
like a
believe
sweater.
that. Yeah, it's impressive.
Yeah, that's
So anyway,
really
that was a
Oh,
good question.
man.
We actually
That's
got
a
him.
good question.
I think we actually got him.
Oh, wow.
I think we
That's the
finally
first,
got him.
that's the
I think
first
it's
time
first
you have a
he
long
actually
answer.
didn't have an answer.
Yeah, that came out of that's out of left field. Wow.
Thank you for the question, Peter. You have crippled producer Ian. I think you just broke.
that's
You
good.
just was like breaking the internet. I think you just broke Ian.
Well, let's move on from that one then.
Yeah.
And we'll have a little more fun. We'll get Kate involved in this one too. So the other thing we like to do, Kate, on the show is play trivia.
Oh, yeah.
Do you like play trivia? Do you
Yeah.
play Trivial Pursuit and those kind of
Yeah.
games like that? Yeah. I just got an app actually on my iPad, the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire app.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who
so
wants
I
to
get
be a
hooked on that
millionaire?
thing. I get in there and I get to like the 750,000.
Yeah.
And then I've used up all my lifelines.
Oh, that's tough.
And then I'm out down to the bottom again.
Oh, that's
It's
tough.
driving me nuts.
So you've never been a millionaire?
No, I have not been a millionaire
That's
yet,
upsetting.
But we'll get there. So we're going to play a little trivia. And so, Kate, Ian's has the trivia cards over there. So we're going to ask you to pick a category for me and a category for Revi Cavi. And so do you want to hear them again, or do you
Yeah.
remember the ones?
I remember
Do
that.
you remember them?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
So
Wow.
which category would you like to give to Kevin?
Sports.
All right, Kate.
Wow. Okay. All right. And which category would you like to give to me?
History.
Okay. I can do that.
Okay.
Perfect.
Good. All right.
So we will do history first to give
Okay.
Rob some time to think
right.
about it. Because I think Kevin might
Hey,
know the same.
wait a minute.
Wait, okay, wait. Yeah, here we go.
What are you saying there, buddy?
So, Rob, who became the first democratically elected leader of the Palestine people, garnering 88% of the vote this year?
What's the year?
The year is 1996.
Oh, for
Well, I think I know
goofy
this one.
sakes.
Okay, so while he thinks on that,
Yeah, let me think. About
Kevin,
Can I get my phone?
Yeah. Don't
No,
you
okay, I
Google
can do
the
that.
answer. You.
what? Okay, Kevin, what dominant team of the 90s won the Super Bowl this year in what was, at the time, the most watched sporting event ever in the U.S.?
Okay. And again, it's
1996.
1996.
Do you remember 1996?
Where were you in 1996?
I was. I got married in 1996.
Did you?
Congratulations.
Yeah.
What about you?
Not
was
Chatham,
I?
right?
No, I was in Chatham.
He was spent a lot of years in Chatham.
Yeah.
Rob
No, I had
spent
my son was born in 1996, so I was a new
Okay.
dad for the first time. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Brett's 23 now, almost
Okay.
24. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, brother, but I don't really know.
Could it? Do you know Kate?
No.
No.
No,
Okay.
I don't remember my Palestinian history. From
I think it's Yasser Arafat.
Oh, do you? Yeah.
Does he get a point if he gets it right?
I'll give him half point.
Half point.
Well, then Kevin gets half a point.
Just-
Okay,
Yasser
good.
Arafat.
See, yeah, it's obvious, right? I should have just picked a popular name.
I'm not
I
going to
wasn't
get a
around
sports
in
question
96.
though,
Okay.
because
What's the
I'll
sports-
say Green Bay.
You say the Packers?
Yeah.
San Fran.
The answer is Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, it was the Cowboys in the 90s for sure. Yeah.
So you got half a point. You beat me on my own question.
Okay. Well, we should ask Kate a question.
Of course.
Ask
How about?
Kate a geography question. Let's just see what we got there.
Oh, this is a good one.
Yeah.
What dry, sunny state became the new home of the NHL's Winnipeg Jets, who relocated there and changed their name to the Coyotes?
Desert State.
Hockey team.
What do you think?
Coyotes.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I wouldn't want to nix you on that.
What do you think? Roadrunner comes from there.
Roadrunner comes from there.
Yeah. There's cactus there.
Rhymes with Kleenex.
Well, that's the city. State will be Arizona.
Yeah, because Arizona's
you
correct.
asked for the state. Okay.
Yeah, I did ask for the state.
Yeah, like
So
Kansas.
it's okay, I was thinking it was Phoenix. See.
All right. Well, that's enough of that foolishness.
All right, Kevin, why don't you introduce our special guest today? I
Well,
want to
yes.
hear more about Kate.
Everybody is out there. I see on Facebook that your violin teacher is on there, Heather, and your dad is on there. There's all kinds of people watching Kate. This is really exciting for us to have you on here because this is something we've been meaning to do. And today, presto, presto, you have a day off school.
Wow.
And so it works out well that there was extra time today to be able to put something together. And so just a few words about Kate as I know Kate. Kate is a member of this church here at St. Aidan's. She's a musician. She plays the violin beautifully well. And and that's her violin teacher who's listening in there. So she's well taught. We can say she's well taught by Heather Braden. And she's also, she serves here at St. Aidan's. She's just started becoming an altar server. And Kate is really, she's very well read. She reads a lot of books, and she's also very well spoken, and she's also a bit of an activist. When Kate sees something that she thinks is unjust or unfair, she doesn't mind speaking up about it and putting pen to paper and getting letters off where they need to go. So she's really quite an impressive young person who's really, I believe, doing the work that Jesus calls us to do in her own way and in her own life. So we're really happy that you came to spend some time with us, Kate. Welcome.
Thank you.
Good, good. So you said this morning you slept in a little bit because you didn't have to go to school. Is that
Yep.
right? So you're off school right now for the day. So here's the question I have for you. And even though your mom's seeing, your dad's watching, but you can answer this to Kevy and I. We won't say anything. So
It's not like this is recorded or anything.
right. If you had a choice between wanting to be home or be in a classroom, which one would you pick?
Right now, I think I'd be in the classroom.
In the classroom.
Yeah.
Good. I think that's a good answer.
Now, but why?
Perfect. But why? Yeah, I want to know. What do you
Well-
like about school and the classroom?
I do enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
Like I do go to a French first language public school, and I enjoy like, just being with my friends, and I have like two amazing teachers which I like to spend time with.
Cool. What are
Right.
their names? Do you want to say hi to them?
Madame Nathalie
Mm-hmm.
and Madame Ling.
Very good. Good. And you enjoy being with them and
Yeah.
and got a good relationship with them. Good.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite subject or something that you really like?
English.
English is your favorite?
Yeah.
Reading?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you reading anything now that you're enjoying?
I've currently been reading Little Women.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the one that the movie is about.
And
Yeah.
the movie's just
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
Everybody was surprised to learn that I never heard of it.
You never heard of Little Women?
I had
Okay.
never heard of
Okay.
it, no.
Yeah.
Is it a good book, Kate?
Yeah, it's a good book. Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of-
Basically, what's the story of Little Women?
It's about four girls and it's just a bunch of short stories pieced together almost as one, but like they all come together in a way, which is nice.
Neat. Yeah, that's one of my wife's favorite books. So she's read that a couple of times
Yeah.
and talks about it. Wants me to go to the movie to see it with her.
Okay.
So she went to see Star Wars with me. So I got to go and see Little Women with her. But I heard it's really, really good.
It
Have
is.
you seen it yet? You haven't
Yep,
seen? Have you
I
seen the
have.
movie?
Yep. I
Oh,
have.
okay. Did you like it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's
Oh,
get your
that's neat.
review.
Yeah. What do you think?
How many stars?
5.5
Oh, all right.
That's pretty good.
5.5.
That's
Out
pretty
of
good.
10?
out of 10. No, out of
Out of
5.
6? Out of 5.
6.
5.5.
Yeah.
It's even over 5.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say out of 6. How many stars?
5.5.
5.5.
That's
All
good.
right.
No, that's a good rating. Yeah. If it was out of 100, then you didn't like the movie.
I'm not going to that movie.
that movie. That's right. So one of the reasons you're off today too, Kate, is because of what's going on with the teachers and the government and all that kind of stuff, right? So is that something you guys talk about in class with your classmates? Or
We've
what
had
do you
a-
guys think about all
We've
that
had a
going on?
couple discussions with my English French history teacher
Yeah.
about it, and just like in general, like why it's happening, why the teachers are striking, just like in general, right? But like amongst ourselves, we don't really like discuss it.
Yeah.
And what sort of what are your own feelings about that? I mean, I know like for right now for you, in your board, it's not job action with the teachers right now, but it's the secretaries, right?
Yeah.
But and in part, you know, of course, what's going on in the broader context in Ontario with teachers taking job action right now because of the cuts the government are making and so on. How do you feel about that yourself as a student?
I don't think it's fair
Right.
what our government is doing right now. I don't think it should really be continued, and I completely agree with the teachers of why they're striking. Because it is for like, especially with like Thames Valley
Yeah.
and like the public schools, it's especially for the students' good
Right.
and for their environment, right?
Yeah.
The environment they learn in.
Right. Because I guess there's class size and
Yeah.
all kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
So I was up in the North End today for an appointment, and I guess some of the Catholic board were out. Is Saint Andre Bessette? Is it this up on Fanshawe? I think,
Yeah, I'm not
and they were all marching up and down, and
Yeah.
and I was blowing my horn and waving out the window and saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, way to go!
Yeah.
Keep it up!" You know, because we it's so important because we think that our young people, they deserve the best of an education, right? So.
Yeah.
So any opportunity we have to support the teachers and what they're doing is good. So I'm glad to hear you feel that way.
I was glad to hear that you're talking to each other about it too, right?
Yeah.
Informing yourself and trying to understand what's going on, because when you take a role like that, of being active in that. It's really helpful, and it's nice to hear, that you guys are doing that at your age. So I think that's wonderful. So good for you. Good for you.
Now, I know, just thinking about some of the things you're involved in, Kate, you most recently here now at St. Aidan's have started learning sort of the work of an altar server. And you got training from someone you know really well, who's your GAM.
Yeah.
And because she's one of our adult servers. That's new to you. How are you enjoying that part of church? Do you find it to be something that is a challenge? Does it help you focus on what's going on in church? Is there a way you feel that it helps, or is it? How do you feel about it?
It is a little bit of a challenge, right? Because there are a lot of steps during church.
Yeah.
But I really do enjoy it, and coming up and seeing this is what happens when I'm down in Sunday school, right?
Right.
I enjoy every once in a while seeing that and participating in it as well.
Yeah. So, and in terms of the stuff that you're doing, I guess you're sort of hands-on. I know because I see you doing it. But you're really hands-on with the with all the things that we use in church. So it's all the symbolism, right?
Yeah.
And I just wonder, because as you said, I mean, up until recently, you'd spend most Sundays in Sunday school, but now seeing, being up at the front and touching the wine and the bread and the chalice and all those things, does it lend more meaning to stuff for you, or do you have questions about it sometimes? Or
it does. I do have questions that I will come up in 2020.
Yeah.
Be prepared. But yeah, I do feel even more involved.
Okay, good.
Almost I do feel more connected in a way.
Yeah. So you mentioned 2020. We recently introduced a program here called that. That's what we call it, 2020. Could you explain to our listeners what that is? You said be prepared for your questions that are coming up in 2020. So it's not a new year, folks. We haven't created a year beyond 2020, but this is 20/20/20. So maybe you could explain how that works for the listeners and what you got from the church and how we use it and so on.
Okay, so 2020 is. It's aimed towards 12 to 15-year-olds, I think. Mm-hmm. And it's every couple Sundays after church, we go down to the basement and with Kevin and with Morgan, our children and youth director, and we discuss questions we have, discuss the sermon, and we have a little notebook and a pencil case, and we take notes on the sermon. Any questions that we have, we jot them down. And then we get to ask them to Kevin and Morgan at the end of church.
Oh, that's
and
a great idea.
There's a little bit of snacking provided.
Oh, well, of course.
Which is always nice.
So, and the other 20 is ahead of church, right?
Yeah.
So
So we do 20 minutes of reading, so we get sent...
you get the gospel reading
a
week ahead.
Yeah, we get sent the gospel reading.
Okay.
We read that for 20 minutes, and then we listen to the 20-minute sermon. And then afterwards, we take 20 minutes downstairs to discuss.
Yeah,
Good for you.
and we've had one of these, and the next one's coming up in a couple weeks. Tell folks what it was like. I mean, you had some questions. What my experience was, the first couple questions, we had to Google it.
You didn't know, did you?
You didn't know the answer.
You got to be careful. You gotta be careful.
So what was it like for you?
I really enjoyed it. I liked asking my questions and also hearing other people's questions,
Right.
which I found quite interesting, right?
Right.
Like everything else everybody had to say.
Yeah, because everybody hears something a little bit differently, right?
Yeah.
So it was pretty neat because when they got in the room together, it became this sort of, you could just see all the wheels turning in their heads with the different sort of perspectives. And
I think that's great because the adults in the room are having questions when they're sitting there too, right? Listening. Right?
I'm trying to remember do you remember what your question was that day?
No, I can't.
No, I can't remember either now. But I do remember one of the questions, the one that was sort of, we both looked at each other until we come to figure it out, was that Sunday in the reading, it said something about Jesus being seated at the right hand of God.
Oh, okay.
And so one of the kids, Connor, one of our kids, Connor, said, "Well, who is seated at the left hand?" And if someone's seated at the right hand, then someone's seated at the left hand.
Yeah.
And do you know the answer to that?
No.
No, I didn't either. And so it turns
I'd
out.
have to look it up.
Do you remember what the answer was when we looked it up?
The angel Gabriel.
The angel Gabriel.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. That makes sense. Yeah.
So,
That's good.
who knew?
Wow,
Yeah.
right. Well, good for him for thinking of that.
Yeah.
Right? Having that image in his head of
Yeah.
if he actually had a picture of Jesus sitting there with
Yeah.
someone sitting on his right side and
Yeah.
had to fill in the blank and who's sitting on the left.
Yeah, and we were talking, the gospel that week was about sort of being on the path of following in the way of Jesus and so on. And we were talking about, there was a part of one of the readings that said, and I'm not going to remember exactly now, but it was about a highway where nobody gets left behind, where there's justice for all, you know.
Yeah.
And so we had a really good conversation about what that looks like, you know.
good.
And so it was really cool. So I'm looking forward to a couple weeks too.
Me too.
To hear what those new questions are.
Yeah, it sounds like a great program.
Yeah.
Great program. I may steal that.
Yeah, steal it, man. Steal
You
it.
give me some ideas.
Yeah,
Kate.
yeah,
That's
no.
good. We do a little thing. We do something somewhat similar at our church. It's called, we do it at the end, it's last Sunday of every month where people of that age group I do a little thing with them before the sermon about the gospel reading. We talk, but they don't ask a lot of questions. But then they go down with some of our youth leaders and do some work around that and then come up at the offering. And usually what they've been doing is creating something to offer to the parish. Like at Thanksgiving, they made a garland and they decorated the altar
Nice.
with it. Yeah, like as part of our already, because you know how you decorate the altar sometimes for certain occasions, so they added to it. So it was their chance to give something and have that. So that's neat. Well, that's a neat
Excellent.
thing you guys are doing.
Yeah.
So, Kate, I wanted to ask you this. I guess it was a couple of Saturdays ago. There were a whole bunch of people at St. Paul's Cathedral downtown, right?
Yep.
And I was there too. And I said this on our show last week that I was a little late that day because I had something in the morning. And so I sat near the back of the church. And so I couldn't really see a lot that was going on near the front, but I know you were close to the front, right?
Yeah.
You were sitting up there. And then at one point in the service, I was there with my wife, and we started to hear this beautiful violin music. And it started to drift over the people toward the back of the cathedral and fill the cathedral. Mm-hmm. And my wife said to me, "Is that the music from Outlander we're listening to?"
What is it called?
Skyboat song.
Skyboat song.
Yeah, it's from the TV show, which
Yeah.
we love. We watch it on Netflix together.
Yeah.
Yep.
And later I found out, Kate, it was you. You were playing the violin.
Yeah.
You were serenading us.
Yep.
So good for you. You get to take part in Todd's ordination and consecration and seating that day. So what was that experience like for you?
It was great. So I was accompanied on the piano by Mark Smith,
Right.
who did a lot of the music during the service. And so we got together with him about a week before and like went through the whole process of rehearsing.
Mm-hmm.
And then my violin teacher Heather and I, we practiced it that following Friday. And Saturday we went and played.
And you did it, yeah. How do you feel about, because music is a wonderful gift. It really is. And some people have wonderful gifts in being able to play instruments or sing or write and to offer that. How do you feel about being able to offer your gifts in front of all those people or just people in general? Something you really enjoy doing and performing?
It's overall amazing.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. About halfway through the playing, I looked up, and then I just thought, "Oh, don't look up! Don't look up! Don't look up!"
It's too many people, right?
Yeah.
It was a big crowd of people.
Yeah, that was
It
that
was.
the biggest crowd you've probably played in front
Oh,
of?
by far, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you did a wonderful job. It was beautiful.
It was
Thank you.
amazing.
And like I said, what was neat for us at the back was we couldn't really see you, right? Because there were just too many people. But all of a sudden, when the music started and you could start to hear it flooding toward the back of the church, it was really put people in a very holy space. Like you could just see people kind of breathing and taking it in, listening to you. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that. It was really cool.
Thank you.
What did you think of the whole thing? Like, I mean, it was quite a magnificent affair, right?
Yeah.
And you and a lot of the children from St. Aidan's here also helped to vest Bishop Todd in his cope and mitre.
Yeah.
And it's not the sort of thing that you get to go to every day, although it's the second seating you've been at because you were at
Yeah.
Bishop Linda's seating.
We were.
And so how did you feel about the whole day? What was it like for you?
Overall, I remember it being like, the space just felt full of joy.
Yeah.
Like a joy that was being contained that after everyone had left, was being spread
Yeah.
outwards to all the other churches and everywhere else.
Yeah.
Right? And it just, and like the way Todd included the children and the way I had the opportunity to play, it just seemed overall like so happy.
Yeah, there was a lot of joy in that room. You're right, and for me, I just thought like some of it was sort of you get a feeling of awe. You know, like there's something very magnificent about the whole thing. You know, sometimes people like me make fun of those things, but there's a, you know, when it's done really well, which I believe it was on Saturday.
Yeah.
It really is. You really get to see just how well the church does this thing.
Like there was almost an aspect of exciting suspense. Like
Yeah,
you could feel it at the beginning. Like
Yeah.
people
There's
could tell. Like
anticipation.
yeah, like anticipation.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I felt that too. It's like something special's happening and is going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? You're like anticipating something. And what I enjoy about those two is that because we all, there's lots of Anglicans around and we're all in our little areas, right? We all have our own churches.
Yeah.
But when we come together for something like that and you look around, you realize how connected we are with so many other people. And you can kind of get stuck in your own little world sometimes.
Yeah.
And forget about the fact that you have brothers and sisters in Jesus and in the church that are out there as well, even though you don't see them every week, that we're all connected.
Right.
And you know, one of my favorite prayers of Jesus was he prayed that the church would be one, or that we would all be one. And when you look at that big crowd like that, you kind of get a picture that he'd be smiling at that, right?
That's
Having us
right.
all together as one. So
Well, and you're right, Rob. And a part of it is like we've got all our different communities around London, around the Diocese of Huron. But when we're all together like that as one big family, like,
Right.
it's
Yeah,
quite
it's
impressive.
powerful.
It is.
And you realize that with those many disciples, because you know some churches are
potential,
smaller
you know.
and they have a few people, and some are bigger and they have more.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be discouraging for those that think that, well, there's only a few of us here. What can we really do?
Yeah.
But we realize when we're all together like that, all those disciples together in that room, we can do a lot to change the world and to do the things that God calls us to do to make the world better and take care of people, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of opportunity there,
Yeah.
which I know is something Kevin's going to ask you about that you try to do as well in your life, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Just one last note on that. I read this at Sunday on Sunday at church, so Kate is aware of it. We received this beautiful letter, Rob, from one of the I think one of the joys of Saturday. Of that Saturday, the consecration, was people getting to know our Metropolitan Archbishop Anne Germond.
Yep.
And she wrote a letter to our parish after the consecration, which I read on Sunday. And she was explaining, she said, she quotes Luke 2 and says, "But Mary treasured all these words and pondered them in her heart." And she said those words sum up how she's feeling coming off of that ordination. And she lists off, you know, her gratitude for St. Aidan's being a place that helped foster and nurture Todd in his life and on his journey. But there were some, I just quote this paragraph, and Kate, you were at church on Sunday when I read these words, so I'm going to ask you something in a minute about that. So Kate's sitting in church, and I get up and I read this from this archbishop from up in Algoma, who says, "There were some particularly poignant moments for me during the liturgy on Saturday. Kate Andersen, not yet tall enough to see over the pulpit, playing the violin in front of more than 700 people with the confidence of a well-seasoned violinist." How did you feel when I read that on Sunday?
Proud. I felt very
Yeah,
proud.
you should be proud.
Yeah,
That's
you
good.
should be proud of that. And she was really impressed by you. She sent me a text message to just say, you know, who is that young girl who played the violin? That was so amazing. So congratulations to you on a job well done.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what I was going to ask you about was, and I'm just wondering if I can get this thing to open up here on my iPad, as I need this. One of the things that happened recently was there was a TV program that you really love to watch, Am with an E, right?
Yep.
And this is why we said at the outset that Kate was on the CBC. And the reason on CBC Radio, and the reason she was on there is because she reached out to the president of CBC and wrote a letter and got a response. And voiced her displeasure with the fact that they had canceled Am with an E.
Right, they took that off.
And
eh?
so I'm just wondering, Kate, if I give you this because your letter is on here, would you read this for folks? Just read them what?
The whole letter?
Yeah, just read the letter, and then we'll talk afterwards about it.
So I addressed the letter to Catherine Tate, president of the CBC, and I said, "Dear Catherine Tate, my name is Catherine Andersen. I I am 12 years old and I love to play outside and tell stories. I also love to listen to your radio programs and television series. I especially love Anne with an E and The Debaters. Anne with an E has become widely popular across Canada and beyond, and I applaud you for recreating an amazing and inspiring television show. Anne with an E has warmed the hearts of fans worldwide, and it continues to inspire me in ways I never thought a television program ever could, and I thank you for that. However, at the moment, I'm in what Anne would call the depths of despair. It seems that Anne with an E has been cancelled and will not progress into the making of a fourth and final season. Quite frankly, I don't completely agree with that. You have done so well with this program, and I don't understand why you would cancel such a good series. Anne with an E covers serious topics from Canadian history and interprets them into a wonderfully crafted story. Some of these events are still common in society today, such as discrimination, residential schools, and feminism. I think that it is important that this generation, especially children my age, be educated about the number of important subjects that are viewed in Anne with an E. A fourth season is needed to explain in depth these events, or at least conclude some of them. I'd also love to see more of the Green Gables and how life will progress for Marilla and Matthew with Anne away in college. I want to watch Anne transform into an adult and teacher and follow her journey towards her future, and learn more about the residential schools through Prince Edward Island's eyes. I think that the idea of a feature film is fantastic. It would make it a great addition to the story and would be a nice way to wrap things up. I don't think that you've reached the end of the Red Green Gables road. I think that we have just come to a part in this story that is different, and maybe a little bit more to capture through Anne's spirit. My point is, there are just too many untied strings left to Anne with an E. You have truly recreated an incredible story that deserves the respect and compassion of a proper ending. Signed, Catherine Andersen.
Thank you, Kate.
Wow, that is well written.
Isn't it?
That's a wonderful letter. Yeah, good
Thank
for
you. So let me ask you now, you sent that letter off, and what happened next?
So we had reached out to Amanda Margison,
Yeah,
who works at CBC London,
yeah.
looking for who we should address this letter to. Mm-hmm. And she gave us the address. She proposed that we send it to Catherine Tate. And then, so we sent off the letter, all done, right? And then a few weeks later, she reached out to us and said, would you like to be on London Morning? She gave the date and time and everything. Mm-hmm. And we said yes. So I actually went on with my friend Gabby, mm-hmm. who just supported me throughout writing this letter and who had given me a few of the ideas, right? Yeah. I felt it right to include her.
Indeed.
Right? So me and my friend Gabby, we went on to CBC and we were interviewed.
Yeah. And there was a response?
We were given a response during the interview.
Okay.
Right?
And what was the response? I mean, sum up what the response was from.
So the response was, thank you for your letter. We hope fans can enjoy Anne with an E. Mm-hmm. And just unfortunately, we won't be continuing to make more seasons.
Yeah. And so how did you feel about that response and what you got back?
I felt in a way satisfied.
Yeah. Because
who can't feel satisfied when you get a response from a letter you've written, right?
Yeah. Well, from the president of the CBC, no less.
Yeah. But at the same time, I felt it was missing something.
Right.
Right? Yeah. It was missing a little bit of a something.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Like when you talk in that letter about those strings that are left dangling, or the untied strings about residential schooling and feminism and all that stuff, I wonder if you can share more about just why that is so important to you now at your stage in your life and on your journey.
Like the series, or
just in general. Like, it's these things are. I know these things mean something to you, Kate. So I know that, like, you take to heart what's going on with truth and reconciliation and the brokenness in our relationship with our First Nations peoples and our Indigenous peoples in Canada. And I just wonder if you could share a little bit about why that's so important.
I don't think we should leave jobs undone or things undone, because it impacts the future in a way.
Right.
Right. A while ago, there was this commercial for Advil or something, and it just showed different lawns half mowed, dogs half clipped, and just random stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And I always couldn't help thinking, but how would that impact it later, right?
Right.
And that's kind of what the commercial kind of showed, like, oh, take Advil and
Do the whole
so,
job.
yeah, so and so, right? But I feel like it could go deeper. Like if you, when you finish it, like they did wrap it up nicely. The show, I'm just using it as an example.
Right.
But it was missing something, and sometimes when you're missing something, it does impact a little bit.
So in the culture, like in what we're dealing with right now in Canada on the whole, do you feel that something's missing, like that we've not completely finished on when we think about our relationship with First Nations?
Oh, completely. We have not resolved.
Well,
Residential schools, I think, is something that can't be apologized for or reconciled in a way
Yeah, the reconciliation is
But-
really hard work.
by a simple apology. I don't think apology is enough.
Right. There's more
Because-
work to be done.
Yeah.
That's
and
like leaving the dog half clipped.
yeah.
It's like it's a good start,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it's not done yet, right? Yeah.
But like I don't think we've truly maintained a good relationship in the past.
Right.
And I feel like now in this generation we're trying to cover it up rather than fix it.
Fix it.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And so when we know in the news there's so much concern about missing, murdered Indigenous women and girls, right?
Yeah.
And you're 12 years old, right? Are you 12 now?
Yeah.
You're 12, yeah.
Yeah.
And so for you coming up now at this stage, what do you dream about for the future in terms of those relationships? And because, I think if a bunch of 12-year-old girls from Oak Ridge disappeared tomorrow, there'd be a major outcry. But I think we have to, when it comes to the missing, murdered Indigenous women and girls, it seems like there's a different standard. We have to work harder to get that voice out there. And I hope to think that for your generation, I think that you're less tolerant of that. I think that you guys want change. You want to see justice for folks who are on the wrong end of that. So I just wonder how you feel about that.
I feel like everyone should be treated as an equal, regardless of like the religion, race, skin color,
Yeah.
anything, right? Past, whatever.
Yeah.
We're all human,
Yeah.
and it just doesn't make sense. It makes no common sense.
Right.
Not like if 2 Oak Ridge girls went missing, there would be a giant impact.
Right.
But with the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls,
Yeah.
I think there's less, partly because we have we've overlooked them in a way,
Right.
because of their background or
Right.
Yeah.
such.
Well, that's great. That's good to hear that.
Yeah.
It's, I was thinking that, we talk when we do our podcast, The Vicar's Crossing. We always like to talk to our guests and people that come in about how their faith kind of intersects with the public square, how their faith connects with life and outside of just church stuff, right? And when I hear you talking about that, I think about one of the things in our baptismal covenant that is real important is one of the things we promise is to do the best we can and do work around respecting dignity of others, dignity of other human beings, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, we're human. That's where it starts. And it's not about the respect and dignity of people from this religion or people from that culture.
Right.
It's the humanness, right?
Yeah.
So when I hear you speak like that, it's nice to see you at that level where you're starting with the human need first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get a sense that's really in your heart, right? Making sure we're loved because we're human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see that? Do you see a connection, like when you decide to sit down and pen a letter to Catherine Tate, say, and you include in that letter such important and critical issues as the things that you included in there? Do you see a connection to the things that you hear in church on Sunday? Like, I mean, you're there almost every week, and you're quite engaged in what's going on. And like you said, with the questions that the program that we're having, do you see how those things connect? I mean, do you feel sometimes that one of the ways you're able to live out your faith, as Rob said, outside of the church building, is by being able to advocate for things that are just and fair for others?
Yeah, like I do, of course, see a connection between what I hear and experience in church and what I hear and experience outside of church, right? And how I react to things because of what I've experienced, right?
Yeah.
And how like I'm able to make certain connections.
Right. So you're able to apply that which you're learning in church to how you walk your daily journey, which is basically us affirming, as I've described Kate in the last couple of weeks with some of the stuff she's been doing with the consecration and so on, one of our young disciples, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're doing the work that Jesus has called us to do by advocating for those who are on the margins or on the fringe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, that's wonderful.
Do you have any questions for us?
No.
No?
Well, we've learned a lot about Kate
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Do you want to do a rapid fire round?
Yeah.
We'll do a rapid fire just to wrap things up. I'm going to ask you 5 questions about yourself, okay?
Okay.
And you can answer them with one word or two, just kind of a quick
Yeah.
thing. This is the rapid fire round.
I like the
Ready?
rapid fire. That's
So
good.
here's what
That's
we'll
new.
do to kind of wrap up the Vickers Crossing today. So, Kate, favorite activity to do?
Right.
Favorite singer or band or music?
Tragically Hip.
Ooh.
Nicely done. Nicely played.
Ian like that. Yeah. Favorite movie?
Wonder.
Oh, yo.
Nicely done.
That's a good
That's
one,
also
too.
a good movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Favorite color?
Yellow.
All right.
Favorite host of the Vickers Crossing?
Should I answer that?
You want to pass?
You
Yeah.
can pass on
Okay,
that
you can
one.
pass on that one. Well, I figured it'd be Kevin.
Yeah.
That'd be okay.
Professional bias.
She gets enough of me. She'd
right.
probably be you're the favorite now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Good. Okay, that's the rapid fire round. So
Yeah.
that's
Nicely
a great,
done, Kate.
great way to
Nice.
to find out a little bit more about you, and we have what a great
Kate's
gift you've been to the podcast today. I know you're a great gift to your parish here at St. Aidan's, and I know you're going to continue to be a great gift to our community and wherever you end
Yeah.
up in your life.
What a
good
good
for you.
Londoner
You
we
did-
have here,
Really
right?
did well.
Yeah.
That's great. So thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Was there any other questions for Kate, you guys? I don't mean to.
What about you, Ian? You got anything
No, I was
burning
like,
your brain over there?
no, I was like listening to this, and I was like, yo, like the next generation, like it's kind of coming up.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah,
good.
yeah, it's
Woke.
yeah, it's like it's interesting to be like, cool, like we've had people who are like I think. Like, I'm just gonna go on a rant here for a quick second. Like I think the majority of people who are under the age of 25 do not think that climate change is fake. Do not think that the Earth is flat. So it's going to be really cool when the people who are in power are going to be like, can we just like fix this?
Yeah.
Like when the next like prime minister was someone who grew up in this time. It's just going to be like, cool. Let's handle these problems like right away.
Oh yeah,
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. It's great to hear you using your voice.
Yeah.
Right? And,
Yeah.
and it's so important. So that's great. We're going to wrap things up here on the Vickers Crossing until next week. So thanks again for Kate for dropping by. And for those of you tuned in on Facebook today, we thank you for being here. Where else can people find us, Kevin?
Well, we're on, Spotify, iTunes, Buzzsprout, I don't know, SoundCloud. I don't know. They might
YouTube
even write about us on the bathroom stall wall. for
Maybe
all
they
I know.
do. Maybe
I
they
don't
do.
know.
Who
I mean,
knows?
send up a smoke signal. Put our name in it. If you're listening to us now, you know how to find us. But basically, on your favorite podcast application, you will find us.
Right.
I think that's a fair.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And you can. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, just one more thing, and this is you didn't notice. So, but producer Ian and I had a chat at the end of last week. So for our listeners, just for consistency,
Yep.
we want to make sure people understand that we normally record these podcasts on a Tuesday, and between Ian and his schedule and school and the work required to get the editing done and get this thing up to iTunes, it takes a little bit of time. So our commitment is that our regular time of publication to all these different places to listen will be Saturday at some point on the Saturday.
Yes.
So you can look forward to downloading your latest Vickers Crossing podcast on a Saturday. And I just want to say that we have the next 2 weeks. We have incredible guests coming up. Next week we've lined up Mark Smith. Mark is the music director at Riverside United Church, and he played along with Kate. So back to back, we'll have these musicians. And one of the reasons we wanted to have Mark on is this is Black History Month, and Mark is really bringing a lot of that music to his community, and will be able to talk to us about that and about his life and ministry, and as an Afro-Canadian in the community and history of Black History Month and why it's important. And the following week, I'm very excited to say we've landed Ariel Kayabaga, who is the counselor who ran up against the problem this week when she called out a policy for being anti-immigrant and anti-women and anti-poverty, and four white male guys decided they would make a motion to have her removed from chambers, which failed 10-4.
Good.
But there's been quite a fallout from that. But Ariel is a woman of great faith, and she really advocates for those who are on the fringe. And she's excited to be coming to join us the week after that. So,
Good.
so
Looking
for
forward to
Black
meeting
History
her.
Month,
Yeah, that's great.
Black History Month again, she's got a lot to say about that too. So
Good.
sorry.
Good. Excellent. No worries. That's great. Lots to come up. So please find us where you can and take part in that. Remember, you can tweet us too at Vickers Crossing, Facebook, The Vickers Crossing, and you can send any questions for Asking and anything as well. We'd love to hear from you. Again, a big thanks to our sponsor, A. Miller George Funeral Home, where each life is celebrated, and their sister company, Cremation London and Middlesex, both family-owned and operated. And until we get together again next time, from
Producer Ian.
and
Yeah.
from
Revy Kevy.
and from
Kate Anderson.
and from Reverend Rob. Thanks for being here, everybody. And remember, Kevin, to always look both ways.
Before you cross the street.
Thank you for listening. Our hosts are Kevin George and Rob Henderson. Our producer and composer is myself, Ian, with original artwork done by Catherine Olenek. If you have any questions or want to know where to find us, tweet us at Vickers Crossing or find us on Facebook at The Vickers Crossing. If you have any other questions about anything heard on this podcast, leave us a comment or look in the description to find out more. Thanks!